let me just start off with, what is your name? Question number one.
My name is Holly Matthews.
Perfect. Thank you.
Where are you from?
I live in Redding, California, far northern California.
Far north. Maybe that's why you have such beautiful trees in the background.
I'm actually in Vega Bay right now.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Beautiful. How old is your child with JHD?
She's 15. She'll be 16 in July.
July. Okay.
How old was your child when she was tested for JHD?
She was 10 years old. It was just a couple of months before her 11th birthday.
Okay. And how old was she when she started showing her first symptoms?
Looking back, she had this eye tick probably about 7 or 8 years old. And they were like, it's just normal to growing things. So we don't really know if that was it. But about 9 years old is really when we started to see a decline in her just normal behavior.
And how could we, and I want to add like questions. Is it okay if we add some questions in as we go?
Yeah.
I love to throw things off cuffs. So when you first took Bella into her appointment, what were you actually seeing then? What kind of symptoms were happening?
On top of
you to take her
eye tick that she was doing, we just noticed she'd always been really bubbly and like singing Justin Bieber and dancing around the house. And all of a sudden she just wasn't doing that. And then she started to withdraw from her friends a little bit at school. And then she started to have trouble in school, where school had always just been like easy, like she loved it. And the real kicker was some friends came by to Christmas carol, like sing carols at our house one day. And they're like, Bella, come with us. And she was like, no, I'm good. And she like went to her room. And I'm like, okay, there's something up here. And so it definitely started, it was like a decline in school and maybe a little depression, really.
And who did your child inherit JHD from?
Her dad.
What were, okay, we just asked that one about what were the symptoms. So we will skip to this. Go ahead.
Sorry, that was my fault.
That's okay.
Did you notice any sort of changes in school?
Yeah, she had always been, like I said, it was easy for her. And all of a sudden it was getting a little harder. She was forgetting like to do her homework, forgetting to turn in her homework. And then it was just harder for her to conceptualize, especially math stuff. And she was like, I just don't have a math brain. And it was like, oh, we got to figure this out because we're smart. So yeah, school, it was just this decline in her school for sure.
Did you notice any behavior changes in Bella around the time of her diagnosis?
Just more withdrawn in general. I hear a lot of people like their kids have outbursts and things. She's never been really angry. She's just more withdrawn and quieter, and like the light in her eyes dimmed a little bit.
How is your child's behavior now versus, so this is competitive, compared to when she was diagnosed and you're just saying?
Yeah, she's still pretty dim, but she's a teenager now too. So I don't know what we're looking at here, but definitely moody, but again, teenager. But lately I've been noticing that I think it's pretty typical with HD. They can kind of obsess about one thing. And so she'll like find something and I'll be like, it's fine. Let's let it go. Let's move on. And it's not terrible. It's not like I've seen in some of her other family members, but I'm starting to notice that's her kind of her latest thing.
Oh, there we go. Did you know what JHD was before your child was diagnosed?
I did. My ex-husband and I, her dad, had just operated under the assumption that he didn't have HD because we had a neurologist at one point tell us that he would have seen it on this brain scan and he didn't have HD and blah, 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 blah. And then we have a family member that was like, Holly, even if she has it, she'll have a cure by the time she's in her 30s. And so that was the assumption. And then when things started noticing and questioning, I started to read up, and that's when I found what JHD was. And I was like, this is like the worst possible thing ever. And I just knew that she had it. So I didn't know until right before really she got diagnosed, maybe a year or two. And I was like, oh God, please don't let this be it. Here we are. So
tell us about the testing process.
So we had a hard time getting her tested. I think that's pretty common, especially with a child. Her pediatrician was like, oh, girls don't get HD. And I'm like, yeah, they do. I love you at being a pediatrician, but let me be the HD expert here. So I taught him a little bit about HD, and he's like, okay, we'll just order the blood test. And so I didn't want to talk to Bella about it at the time. So it was stressful getting her in, like, oh no, you're just getting blood work. And then they're like, sorry, ma'am, we're not testing her. We won't do this. And so we left the lab. They wouldn't test her. So then we got a referral to a child neurologist in Sacramento, and he did a brain scan, I think an EEG or something. And he was like, oh yeah, it seems like she has it. And like, he was just super nonchalant about it. And I was like devastated. So then we ordered the blood test, and it was just back and forth between the lab and the insurance and the doctor. And like, they were like, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. And then we finally did it. And yeah, they called me at work, and the receptionist just told me over the phone, oh yeah, her CAG is 94 or whatever. And I was like, I gotta go home. I can't be at work. And yeah, and then she was like, okay, have a good day. Hung up. It was so
Have
bizarre.
a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really a nice way to end that conversation.
And
Sorry
so
about that.
that was horrible. So then a few months later, we hooked up with UC Davis and the Center of Excellence. And it was like, I could literally I just handed like everything on my shoulders, I handed to them, and they were like, we'll take it. It was the best thing. Finding them was like, whew, I don't have to have everything on my shoulders anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I would think like the testing is so interesting because so many people, they're not comfortable testing a child.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to test a child, and then they don't know how to give results. It's just like we're hearing it's such a huge problem with testing,
Yeah.
but physicians need to understand. And I know that it is hard giving a JHD diagnosis. I can only imagine, as much as it's hard for all of us in our close JHD community that we have to watch our kiddos go through this. But they have to understand, by not feeling comfortable testing children and letting them go so far, you are doing harm to that child. They're not getting their services. They're not their IEPs. Like, it is harmful to a child because you don't feel comfortable diagnosing them.
Yeah, the IEP, but also I just wanted to be able to tell her, like, you're not dumb. Like, you don't not have a math brain. It's HD. It's not you. You're fine.
Yeah.
And so without that diagnosis, she was just like fledgling. You have to have an answer for it once, and then you can move forward, or try to.
Yeah. So you did mention UC Davis. This question is, what professionals helped you and your family through the genetic testing process, even like their roles, and even like after diagnosing, just what are some of the professionals or even types of professionals that have helped you?
Yeah. So once we found UC Davis, and I don't know why we didn't go there earlier, because Bella's family that it got HD from, they all are patients there. I was like, hello, why isn't anybody telling me? But once we found them, we have Dr. Duffy and Dr. Wheelock are amazing. And then the social worker, Lisa was so great. She came, we live 2.5, 3 hours away from Sacramento, and she came up to Bella's elementary school and met with her teachers. And then she came back and she did a whole presentation for Bella's classmates. And it was like, I couldn't even be in the room when she was doing it, but she's so helpful. She just drove up, did her presentation, drove back home. It was like, you're amazing. It was so great. Like I said, I feel like I've handed them half of the weight off my shoulders, and it's nice to be able to know that they're there and they're behind us and willing to help us every step of the way.
We're very blessed that UC Davis is our home.
Yes.
I mean, people don't get what we have here with Dr. Wheelock and Duffy and Lisa and Mara and Terry left, but it's just the support we get is unbelievable.
Oh, it's night and day compared to just the regular child neurologist. Cause I was just like on my own, and they're just like, let us worry about this. Let us take care of this. Like, even Bella's going to be turning 16 and all her friends are getting their licenses. And so we were just down at her appointment about a month ago, and I said, she's going to ask, what do I say? Do you guys have a canned answer for me? And they're like, let us handle it. And so they talked to her about it at her appointment. I didn't have to do it. So that was nice.
What stage of JHD was your child in when she was diagnosed?
Very early stages. No one, like our family, didn't even, I don't think, believe us maybe when we told them, because to everyone else, she just seemed like totally normal still. But obviously being at home day in and day out, we saw changes, and obviously more and more people are seeing it now. And now they're believing us, 5 years later, like, who does have it?
Does Bella have the help that she needs at school?
Yes. Yeah. With her elementary school, they were like beyond supportive and just like whatever you need. And now that she's in high school, there's actually a teacher that kind of, I don't know what to call him. I'm not really sure what they call him. We kind of call him her liaison. Like she has one period a day with him where he helps her get through all her stuff, but she does the rest of the just regular college prep classes. But he makes sure the teachers are like, hey, if she turns in at like half, give her full credit. Like we just want, I said, she doesn't need straight A's, but let's not fail her out, because he's like, the end of the day, it just doesn't really matter. We just want to keep her life as normal as possible for as long as possible. And like, he's even told some of the teachers, like, there's going to be time where she's just not here because it's more important for her to go do other things than to be here all the time. I mean, it's pretty awesome, really. Because I've heard horror stories and we don't have that.
Yeah, like it was more important for her to be in Orlando with us.
Exactly.
There are things that are more important.
Yeah, she actually has her Make-A-Wish coming up. We're going back to Orlando for Disney World in about 2 weeks.
Awesome.
good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, shameless plug, are you a part of any support groups?
Yes. So I just finally attended. You guys invited me, like a month and a half ago. I finally was able to attend one. And it's so interesting. The JHD moms, our private group, how we all have such different experiences, but there's overlapping like themes. Even like talking about like the dads, because it seemed like every one of those girls got it from their dads, and how we all had different experiences in dealing with their diagnosis and how it affected the family and things like that. So it's not always easy to face talking about it. There are days where it's like, scroll, I can't deal with this today. But it is nice to know that there's other moms going through it. And like, there's days when we know we can't answer the phone. So yeah, I haven't attended any other support groups or anything. I know UC Davis has a few, but I've never attended any of those. It's just too hard to face sometimes.
That's what's great about something like a support group that you can kind of weave in and out of. And
Yeah.
there is no, wait, why are you not here every week? No, it's just like when you can, when you can't. So
Yeah.
we're glad you came.
I think I'm going to try to do it more often because it was helpful. Bella liked it even. I was like,
Yeah.
That's what's so special for me. Like when I wanted to cry, because when all the girls came on and they were on the screen and they were so excited to see each other. And
yeah.
it was, they live all over the nation and they all have JHD, and they light up when they get to see each other, and they were laughing and like, it was like, it's so cool to have a place. Oh, it's so rare. You may never see a child with JHD or JHD. We know, having our JHD support platforms and all of us being so close. No, there are a lot of children out there, and they deserve support and they deserve a voice.
Yeah.
That's Florida was so great, because I wanted Bella to eat although she was jet lagged and super moody. I was like, remember the girls we met? And she was like, yeah. I said, we're going to go on this support group and they're going to be there. So she was all excited, which I was a little shocked at because she was so moody in Florida. So hopefully, when we come down in April, she'll be a little more personable.
We're excited to have her.
It's great because London actually just commented on what's going on Facebook, and she said, Autumn and I are watching, and Autumn said, oh, that's Bella's mom. So,
We're
close community.
The JHD community is a close community.
For sure. So do you have any other children at risk for HD or JHD?
No, I have a son that has a different dad with my current husband. So just Belle. She's the only one in her family line. She had her grandmother had it, and then her aunt, her uncle, and her dad. And so she's the only child that came out of that family, and she has it obviously too. So yeah.
How do you explain JHD to people?
It depends on the circumstance, how much they need to know. But typically I just say she has a neurodegenerative disorder and it affects her mind and her body. And like, she can't go through the metal detector at the airport or whatever. And if it's someone I'm actually more social with, then I will talk more about it. What do you mean? And answer questions from there.
What is your biggest struggle as a caregiver for your child with JHD?
Remember what I put for that question, because I feel like there's a lot. But I think I put that just remember, like, balancing day to day and still balancing, hey, she has JHD, like we have to take a break. Who cares if she did her chores, or if the house is clean, we need to go to the park and do something fun. So
I love that.
it's a daily struggle.
If you could give any advice to a caregiver, what would you tell them?
To take time for yourself, because I think, especially early in the diagnosis, it's easy to get lost in trying to be all and do all, and you find yourself pretty easily depleted. And like right now, we're in Bodega Bay without the kids because I was like, I need a mental health break. So let's go get some.
One help for HD.
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then when we come back, I'm more present. It's easier to be the person that she needs me to be if I can take time for myself once in a while.
Absolutely.